What is going on, everybody? We're sitting here going to talk about the big elephant in the room. Man, why is PGA so bad? What is going on with PGA Tour? I want to talk about the business aspect of it and the major mistakes that this tour is doing. I don't know if you've been watching, but man, Jay Monahan is the commissioner of the PGA. And, for the longest time, obviously, he's never had competition. And competition comes in like the Live Tour, takes away some of their best anglers. And man, I'll tell you what, the PGA is absolutely falling apart. I don't know if you ever caught the American Express last weekend, but John Rahm obviously is a big name. He won the American Express, but you got a guy by the name of Davis Thompson second, Xander Schauffele's third, Chris Kirk and Montgomery's fifth, Kim and Poston, Van Ruin, Schmidt, Shelton. I mean, who are these guys? These guys are carrying the PGA Tour, man. I don't know, man. I'll be honest with you. I was absolutely fascinated with PGA Tour. Obviously, the Tiger Woods era was a big deal. And, being able to watch, where it was at its peak with Tiger and then to see it come to where it is now. Obviously, I think a lot of basically hotheads just didn't prevail, right? It's a lose-lose situation. The Live Tour just got a broadcasting agreement. I don't know if they're going to have anywhere close because I don't think the product that has anywhere close to being the desire of what the PGA has. And also, the way the competition is in the PGA Tour, it seems like it's just they put on a better tournament. But when you get to the point to where now the PGA Tour is trying to be the same PGA Tour and not change and really try to go after the competition of Live Tour, you're going to have an issue. And I'm telling you, man, like I'm out. Like I'm out. I'm not excited about it. I mean, here's the time I get real excited usually for the PGA Tour when you got Hawaii, you get pictures of people who are in the Northeast or in the East Coast, man, they're all snowed in. And then you see pictures of, tour players out in Hawaii. And you're just like, oh my God, I cannot wait to get back on the course. It's just not like that for me for the last couple of years, man. I'm not excited. I'm not excited about watching Kapalua. I'm not excited about watching these guys on, basically play Torrey Pines. Torrey Pines is today in the Farmers Insurance Open, man. I'm just not excited. The field, look, I'm looking at the leaderboard right now. They just started, right? But you've got guys, the guy who's leading it right now is Brent Grant. Who the hell is Brent Grant? Some of these guys that are playing right now, yeah, congratulations, you made the Pro Tour, but it's not moving the needle. And PGA's got a problem. They got a major problem. Obviously, they put a hard line in the sand. I don't know if you saw what, obviously the whole thing with Patrick Reed and Rory McIlroy, that spat. I think that's good. We need kind of that spat to like light the fire in golf. But, that's what the PGA had when it came down to, these tournaments. You would have, Patrick Reed versus Rory McIlroy and the Ryder Cup. It's Captain America versus, the Irishman. You had all that in the Ryder Cup. That was, back in I think it was 2016, that Ryder Cup was absolutely amazing. When Europeans came over and, it was a big, Captain USA or Captain America, which is Patrick Reed versus, Rory McIlroy. And that big matchup that they had was just absolutely incredible. But the PGA, from a business standpoint, I don't see how you can go out as a sponsor and sponsor this tour and expect the rate of return that you have on your investment as you had in the past. Yeah, you still have Tiger Woods, but man, he's not going to play. He can barely even make it out of a car. But I can't imagine that the sponsors are going to be too happy with, especially the way the broadcasts are going, right? And the amount of attractive audience that the PGA Tour is going to bring. Not when your guy who's leading the tournament is going to be like Brent Grant. I just don't know. I don't see these names carrying the brand anymore. And as TV changes and everything gets more digitalized, and the big TV contracts come out, CBS is not going to want I'll be honest with you. You know what the PGA Tour is going to follow? The PGA Tour is going to follow NASCAR. I mean, they are headed down the same road. They had a captive audience. They had the best players in the world, and the players. I mean, these guys are used to making like the top 5 athletes in the world were golfers, right? With Tiger and Phil and everybody else, these guys were golfers, and now. I don't know. I mean, can these players make as much money on the PGA Tour, with the sponsors and these contracts as it used to be? I don't think so. As Tiger, moonlights away, right, and goes away, I don't see them being able to have the same purses. You're going to have the same situation that happened basically in the pre-Tiger from like the late '80s to the early '90s. I mean, golf was hurting, in terms of its sponsorships and the amount of money, and it just wasn't worth putting yourself to be on tour. I mean, the purse here at Farmers Insurance Open is $8.7 million, but PGA is on the verge. Honestly, is on the verge of. I mean, they're on their last leg. They cannot continue to do what they're doing and expect survival. Again, I'm going to call it to like they are NASCAR. They actually got themselves up to like a top 4, top 5 sport in the United States. I mean, again, the most captive athlete in all of the world was Tiger Woods. And everybody moved with what he did. I mean, how he ate, slept, breathed. I mean, it was like the story in the 2000s. I mean, what he did at the Masters, what he did at Pebble Beach, and how he broke the U.S. Open record and all these different things. That will never happen again, right? They don't have the personalities to ever have another Tiger Woods. And then the ones that they had the personalities. You had Bryson DeChambeau just absolutely launched the golf ball. I mean, it's power ball everywhere you go. He went to the LIV Tour. And you've got likeness of Phil Mickelson, like him or not, but Phil Mickelson moved the needle. Dustin Johnson, the number 1 player in the world, Brooks Koepka. And then you put a hard line in the sand and says, well, you know what? If you're not going to golf with us, then you're not allowed to be a part of the majors. They're going to have to rethink that because the majors are the brand of the PGA Tour. The majors, I mean, everybody played up to go to the majors. And if you don't have the best players in the world to play in the majors, advertisers are going to walk, and the PGA is going to bleed, and the PGA is going to have absolutely no choice but to have a combined structure of what the LIV Tour is offering, like guaranteed money contracts, to get them to play on the PGA Tour. Now, that makes golf, I think, in a terrible predicament. I think golf, if you guarantee salaries or guarantee contracts in golf, the competition level is going to go down, right? I mean, you can see what's going on in the LIV Tour. It's not competitive golf, and they don't care if they miss that putt. They don't care if they finish 5th or 6th or whatever. And then they incorporated a team aspect to it, trying to bring in the Ryder Cup aspect into LIV Golf, and they're more concentrated on the team golf atmosphere as well as the individual events. I don't know if that's going to work too well in the PGA Tour. I don't know. The PGA Tour is bleeding, and no one wants to admit it's one of the most hidden, most secretive companies or operations in the world. Like, you never hear of any incidences, like if a player is taking drugs, or if they get suspended on tour because they were found to have positive for cocaine or marijuana or whatever. You never hear about it, right? They fake some injury and say that the golfer's away, because his ankle hurts or whatever. I mean, it's the most secretive, and I don't know how they get away with it. I mean, because the public should demand the same kind of exposure like they have with the NFL, NBA, Major League Baseball. They should demand that kind of exposure or that kind of information from the PGA. And I think the PGA is going, and I'll be honest with you, I don't know how Jay Monahan's going to survive this after this year. I mean, he's obviously drawing these lines in the sand, and it's hurting the brand. And quite frankly, I'm pretty disappointed in seeing and hearing, but the PGA Tour, I mean, I'm out. Like, I'm out. Until they start producing better product, I'm out, right? And I think most of America, and even, I mean, I was an avid golf fan, guys. I mean, seriously, I would wake up, literally, my TV would be on the Golf Channel from start to finish. I was a student of the game. I loved to play the game. I loved watching literally replays of the tournament that happened just the weekend before on the Golf Channel. I would watch everything I could about, how to putt or whatever. I mean, I was absolutely addicted to the sport. Spent thousands of dollars in clubs and green fees and all equipment and shirts and clothing and everything else. I mean, I've spent and invested in the sport. I'm all in. I was all in with the PGA Tour. It was like a dream of mine to play on the PGA Tour. But quite frankly, the way things have gone and the way things are going, I have to find something else. Like, I'm out. And PGA, you have to do better. You have to be able to put together and find out some way to bring your star players back on tour. And you can't draw this line in the sand. You cannot not have your best golfers be a part of golf. These are the best in the world, and you let them walk away. And you think that the Live Tour was some joke, and just because you have personal animosities with Greg Norman or Phil Mickelson or whoever, Phil tried to tell you this years ago that this was going to happen, and he tried to work with you to try to bring this kind of format to the PGA Tour, and you snubbed your nose at him, and now you're paying the price. And so, before I get bought into watching Ben Steele freaking hit a golf ball, you better start. And listen, you can't, I'm going to tell you this right now too. You can't put your horse and be like all in on Rory McIlroy. Rory is, he's a robot. He has zero personality. He's not, he's a good golfer. He's probably number one or number two in the world. But to be honest with you, man, I'm like, he's not as captivating as a Tiger Woods. He's just not. He's a robot. He literally is. But I want personality. I want fun. You need the Phil Mickelsons in the world. You need those guys. Like him or hate him, he was good for golf. You need the guys like be honest with you, I'm not a Patrick Reed fan, but he is a villain. You need villains. You need people that you like. You need people who you root for. The PGA Tour has no rooting interest. And you need, it's like any story, any sport, right? You had the bad guys, like the NBA, man. You had the Detroit Pistons against Chicago Bulls. You had Bill Laimbeer versus Michael Jordan. You knew that if Michael Jordan was going to go down the lane, he's going to get his head decapitated by Bill Laimbeer. You knew that there was consequences on things that happened. Man, I'm telling you, like, the PGA Tour is really, really disappointing and boring. I'm out. You've got to be able to produce return. And the PGA Tour cannot look the sponsors in the eye and say, hey, this sponsoring our tour is going to have the great investment and rate of return as it used to have. You better start like producing. And you've got these TV contracts from CBS and NBC and the Golf Channel and Sky Sports and Discovery and all these different things. But at some point, these guys are going to wake up and say, you know what, man? What we're paying you to put your product on our channel is just not worth the return. And so you've got to do something, PGA. Don't fall in the same trap as NASCAR. Drawing hard lines in the sand and putting terrible product out there. Because I'm going to be honest with you, your purses might be $8.7 million this week at the Farmers Insurance Open. But you're not going to have that for too long. Because eventually Tiger Woods is going to go away. He's going to ride off in the sunset, right? I don't think he can even compete on the senior tour, right? You got to start getting stars, and you need to bring back your stars and start negotiating with these players to bringing back, putting them on tour, and be a part of your majors. The Masters made a good decision. The Masters, obviously separate from anything, it's its own entity, decided they're going to bring back these players. And it's a smart move. Am I going to watch the Masters? Hell yeah, I'm going to watch the Masters. I'm going to watch every bit of it because the stars and the players I want to see are going to be there. But I'll be honest with you, Live by itself sucks. The PGA Tour by itself sucks. And let's be honest, PGA, you don't have the money like the Saudis do and the Saudi investment fund. You're going to get outbid. You're going to get outspent every single time. And they're going to draw even better players away from you if you don't do something. Jay Monahan, I don't think you're up for the job, man. I just don't think you cannot have that kind of attitude. You need to work together and collaborate somehow, some way, and be able to put your differences aside and bring these players back. But PGA, I'm out. I'm done. And this is coming from an avid fan ever since I was 4 years old. I used to follow Calvin Pete around over here in Williamsburg, Virginia at Jamestown and watch him compete. And I'm out until you improve your product. PGA, got to do better, man. Got to do better. This is Motion Sports. This is Greg. I'll see you.